Okay, now when we are looking at some automations, we're doing now one here. When we are trying to launch a different process, first we should have a process that can be fired from the other process. How we can do it? First, let's create a one more process which can be called from the other process. Then we can fire this one. Okay. Okay, we all process, new process builder. So basically what we can do here. Mm, process that can be called from other process. Yes, I'm giving generic name. Okay, it's invoked by other process. It's what you have to give here. Okay, so what is the object here? Let's say we want to do the object as a project. Okay, save. And now criteria. What should be the criteria here? My criteria name was let's say when it is something else other than stage. Start dates. CAGR. Okay. When state and a city are blank. So what are this? Like when state is null. When state is null, then I want to do some give a default address to it. The default address is update the records. So update state and city of the project. Record type, the record related to the project. So starting your process. Okay, choose a process. Fine. And here I want to update state as I want to give it as a default state, and I want to give city as default here. Just I'm trying to see if we don't have an address, update that address as a default address. That's what I was trying to do here. Done. Now I'm going back to process. So this, you see the process type, you can see the difference. Record change is invocable. So you might think, so it will be fired whenever this state is blank. It will update it as a default state. Let's try that. Okay, I'm not having any state. I will just update here. So nothing is happening now. So my intention is to just keep a default state and city. Okay, now from here, our process project automation. Here, I want to do some action there. When project is approved, maybe when the project is approved. So I'm just checking, do we have any other actions on it? That's approved. Yes, we're having project start date. Project start date. Hmm, started over there. Mhm. First stage should be approved. What requires future date? One stage is approved. Project start should be a future. Okay, this is 21. Okay, save. Okay, so I don't have any challenges here. So here when the stage is approved, so I want to do only this conditions are met. Only when the project is approved, I want to do action that is call a different process. That is set default state and city. Okay, process builder is that can be called from there. So as object, I want to pass this as a same record. I want to pass and do a save. Okay, what is it? Something task. Okay. Now I'm doing activate. So before I'm not having any action other than landing this process builder. Now what I have to do, when it is not approved, okay, and when it's so when stage becomes approved, all my next was if the state and city are blank, it has to populate it with some default state and city which are happening now. Okay, so you can have some other objects also. Like this also I can do not only the same object. When you have the thing was when we use, basically that is going to your question. So when we are going to have a same set of action when we do from a different objects, let's say you have some action on the email, so this has to be fired multiple times, not when action on the contact, but you use this contact in multiple objects. Whenever it's going to use using the object, when something happening, you want to set some flags in that object, and the same action you're going to do when there is a different object also using it. So same set of thing you want to do repeatedly instead of doing it in multiple process builders. Just we have one action and it can be used from a different process builders or different object related process builders. We can do that. Okay, so just to reuse using purpose, we can do that using or launching a process builder from one process builder. Okay, now what else actions we have? So if I create record email alerts flows, I need to explain flows before and then process. Okay, quick actions. This quick actions, first we need to create a quick actions on the object. Okay, we have a project log. So whenever it is approved, I think somewhere we created some auto log or not. I didn't remember. So we're creating some tasks, right? Um, from this one, from a workflow rule also we're creating some tasks. Okay, some I didn't remember when. Maybe when it is approved, right? When it is approved, we are creating a task. Okay. Um, Now let's create a task. Like this one project log. Um, Saying that project log. What actually project? I didn't remember what we did actually. This one is a project log. Yeah, this is the one. So what we'll be having here? You remove task. Mm, 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 mm. System action the project. What else we have? Project start. We have project start. Set quick action fields values. Okay. If you have a log, then we having this fields. Email, project name, let record ID. Okay. We create some more quick actions on this project and then try to use it there. So we have a new action, and when we look at when we are dragging and dropping a quick actions in a Lightning app builder, it only supporting updating a record. Let's see if we are having a create record quick action. Want to create a resource here. So they are also having a resource, creating a resource directly, and I want to do it as a sorry. Here also I want to create one more record saying a project resource. Record type as project resource and standard label, not want anything. Create new project, project resource name, it's okay. Description, create a feed item. Okay, that's okay, you can do. Success message. Create it. Okay, save. So her resource name, project, contact, project lead. So if you see the advantage from the before and this one, let's check here. Okay, actions, object, project, it's not coming. It's available now or not. So now we don't see any button here to create a new resource. You can add a new button like this and you will be having that only the four fields widget here. Okay, and the same that we're going to use here in this process builder. So when quick action, when it is approved, started, not started. No, let's say I want to here also have same, right? So here when the project is started, here also I was doing this one. But here if you observe, I was hard coding this record type ID, which is not at all suggestible, but we don't have option to do that. So in those scenarios, what we can do was instead of creating a record from here, if you have a quick action there itself, you can pick the record type ID and remaining fields, whatever you want here, you can drag and drop to there and you can populate all fields from here. Okay, I'm just deleting this way. Okay, I'm deleting a create resource as a new record and I want to put it as a quick action here. Here, what I want to do here, quick actions and create new project resource, the field object as a project and create new project resource and related record ID. Field reference. This is also a record ID from here. Record ID I want to give here and contact also I want to give as a lead lookup that we're using before, same way. Resource name also I want to give it as a formula that we're like how we are having before. Default resource as name is, now I want to give lead first name, okay, and use formula project lead also a field reference ID, and I want to use the same when I'm creating default resource. I want to keep the contact and lead are both the same, so lead becomes a contact when I'm creating a new resource to the project. Okay, let's do save and activate, confirm. Here I have a project. I have multiple resources here. Default resource it got created. We'll just create one more different to see the difference. I'll just give that's okay. Let's upload. I'm moving it back to a starter. So it has to create one default project resource, but it has to be see this one. Before we are using a last name, now I'm using a first name. So it's saying default resource Avi and showing it here. And even if you look at the record type also, I have not specified the record type, but in the whereas in the quick action itself, I have selected the record type, which record type I want to add. So that's why it has I don't need to hard code. I know to hard code the record type ID, so which will be useful when like it is easy for me to change the if I want to change the record type ID or fields. Okay, so here you can see the record type is selected as a project resource, which will be like easy now. Okay, doing a quick action. Now we see. So what else we have left here as action types? we need to configure quick before setting up custom notification. So we are actually hardly left with the flows and approval. So once we have configured the flows and approval process, then we look at how to launch the flows from a process builder, how to submit a record for approval from a process builder. We can see it. Now, if you have any questions here in this, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll just give a quick intro about flows. Guys, there. Okay, sure. So let's take some quick introduction. What are the flows? So flows also is similar to a process builder, but it is not like a specific action. Like it is not specifically defined. These are actions. These are criteria. Flows are now term before, like initially, flows are like only screen flows. If you have any requirement or like any functional need that has to flow screen by screen, like first the screen, then based on what you selected there, if you want to based on selection, you want to switch to either screen 2 or screen 3, and then what you have in the screen 3 you will define, and once you go there, and so it's like when you're filling any application, in a job application or a college applications, we have different sections, right? Like personal information, job experience, educational details, so on. So once you fill this, it will go to the next stage. Similarly, if we have any kind of functionality like this, they used to use flows where we can configure screens and we can configure the navigations so that we can go with the flows using next previous buttons, and somewhere also you can pause and you can resume it. Now there are a lot of changes that Salesforce bringing to the flows, where what are all the programmatical code. So if we have some logic to implement, so we do write some code, right? What all you do from a code, it become available in a flow. So it's kind of becoming virtual coding. So you not write code, just you do a drag and drop and select the options there, but it is also kind of a piece of a code. So similarly, what you see the arrows here, there also you will be having a flow chart, and you having all this box ready made, right? So you're not dragging anything here. What you can do was, so instead of here, I want to choose something else. I want to choose a decision or not. Here you have a fixed path. You have to give a condition here. If true, you can do something. If false, you do something. And if you have one more condition here, write to it. You don't have option, or you have so many, like you have 10 or 15 or 6, 7. You don't have option to control what all the outcomes of this condition, or like what all the actions you do. So you don't have order. So when we faced yesterday's, we had to manipulate multiple times to control the order, in which order it has to be executed, or in which order we have to set the values. So these are all what we can do was we can streamline in our own way, however we wanted. We can drag and drop, and we can connect in such a manner whichever we like. And all these things can now compatible in a flows. So they become a different kind of a flows. Flow is a screen flows. So once you launch the flow, you will see like what screens, like you will configure multiple screens there, and what based on selection you decide what next screen should be. That's screen flow. and there's a record change flow. So something happened to a record, like now what we're doing here, same thing we do there. But here we don't have a control that when it has to be fired. Usually it has to be after you commit, not commit, after you make the change only it will happen. So anything if you do again, you have to do a update only. There's no other changes before it hit the DB. You cannot modify the data. So in where in flows, you have an option to when you save a record, you can do a before hitting it to the database. Let's say you gave a employee number as 100. So for let's say gold partnership, it has to be mandatory to be 500, and you are okay that once they select a gold partnership, make it change to a 500. It doesn't matter for you what is the actual number, but if it's a gold, you want to make it as 500. That's it. So so what you have to do after saving the record again, you have to go and update this record. So what will happen? It's updating multiple times the same record. So when you have an option to do it before, what will happen was you no need to update again, just modify the things before it's hitting the save. Like if you have any kind of a calculations, like we have this one, right? You're giving a discount based on a partnership. These are all you can move it to a before, so that before hitting the database itself, you do all manipulations, and along with the changes what the user has done, you will add your changes to it, or you can modify the user changes also, and you can do a database, and it will not need any extra save on the same record when you're having a before things. And after things means, so it went to the database and hit, and it's not committed it. So it went to the database and saved. And commit means what if something happened wrong. So all things what has saved will be rollbacked. So in the commit means you have committed the changes to the database, and it's no longer changeable. You have to go to the record and change again. It will not roll back once it is commit. So that is what things first. So once the record is saved, then it will if you want to make any change also, you have to query the records and do update, like how we are doing in process builder now. So you have to do a update again to the record. So that has to be done in a after part. So for everything you will have split into a before and after parts in a flows we have. So let's see the navigation how it looks. Okay, I'm just going to go setup, and you will be found the name as a flows. Okay, those are flows, not login flows, the process automation flows. So here there are so many standard flows, no need to worry about those. Let's take a new flow. What are all the types of flows we can see, and we can explain one by one. Screen flow we have seen, and record trigger flow we have, I mean not seen, I just explained. And then schedule trigger flow. When you're saying a schedule trigger flow, so usually what we've seen so far, when the record is happen some changes, we will be having a time trigger that will be calculated from the when the changes happen, or you will refer any of the date in this record, and from the date you will be having a time trigger to run, and once the time trigger completed, you will be having a set of actions to fire. No, I don't want to do like that. I want to do it like a scheduled one every day by this time, or like every 4 hours, or every 5 hours, or every 5 days, or every weekly. Weekly, I want to do some scheduled job, or monthly, I want to do some scheduled job. I want to clean the data, let's say. So you want to have some flows or a kind of a jobs that has to run in a scheduled time. You can do that. So you will be having everything like automated flow. So it will not, so except screen remaining, any of them will not have any screen. It will be only backend logic, updating the records, processing some like formulas, or creating or deleting anything that will be happened only in backend. You don't know it what's happening, like process builder or workflow, you don't know what's happening. Screen flow means you know what inputs you're giving, what's the next, what's next, what's next, you see one by one. then only it will complete. What all record trigger flows or schedule flows or all the below. So once you do trigger it, it will happen everything in the back end only. Schedule jobs also everything, it will be happen what you have configured, it will happen in the back end only. And platform event and trigger flow. So we can so record triggering is when specific changes happen to your record, that is a record changes. Platform event is we can communicate between the automations. That means so even process builders also, there's one option called a platform triggered process builder. So even we can trigger a process builder from a platform event. So here also is a platform triggered flows. So these platform events, what we are saying, it can be called inside your organization or outside of your organization, or you want to do it from a custom code. So you want to fire something and which can be handled by this. So for what we seen, flows and process builders, and do some logic. So these are all what we can um, do, but it is not dependent on any of the object. It is a kind of a platform events that it is across the platform, and it's only need a subscription. That if you subscribe for the event, subscribe means if you are triggering a flow when a event is fired, that means you are subscribing that event in your flow. If you write a process builder when some event is fired, so that is you are subscribing your platform event in a your flow, process builder or a flow. Similarly, you can subscribe or you will be subscribed in a different configuration what are available in salesforce, that can subscribe to a platform events, and it will run, so which there is no restriction that it has to fire from this object or this object. It is across the your organization, or it can be fired from outside of your organization also through a API. Okay. So uh, so in a crispy manner, Screenflow means if you click some button in your any of your pages, then only this will show up Screenflow. Okay, so you have to do everything. It need a manual inputs in your Screenflow. Based on your inputs, it will process in a backend. So you have a backend thing and a screen things in this flow. So record trigger flow will be having all the things, what order it has to execute, everything you will define. But how this will trigger? This will be triggered from a any of the record changes that what object you have configured for. Next one is a schedule trigger flow. This is going to the same logic you have here, but it is not specific to a single object in the schedule trigger flow. So you will be having your custom logic that will be called on a scheduled time, what you have scheduled. This platform event, you have a logic that will be called whenever there is a platform event occurs. And now auto launch flows. Invoked by Apex, Process Builder, REST API, and more. This auto launch flow runs in a background. This is also kind of a launching a flow from a backend. So that we are not using any platform events, we are not using any of the record or any schedules. So we directly call this flow from any of the means through Apex or process REST API or any of the automated flow actions from where we can call a flow. So usually this is what we are going to call from your process builder. Then we have option there, call a flow. When we choose this option, then on and you create a flow, then only it will be visible to a process builder. So there is a flow that can be called from a process builder. Okay, so these are all the 5 options available, and again in this there are multiple options available that we'll see on Monday. Okay, there are some templates we have. Just we can go through the templates. There are what we can do once we select here. What are all the options that you see here that we can also see there. Okay, any questions here we have? These are all we see. The screen flows, automated launch flows, contact request flow, Virtual flows. User provisioning flow. Just what are all the templates we have already made available, just to split into a different categories that we have.
Okay.
Do you have any questions here? Core or all templates? We're going to explain on Monday or tomorrow. Let's see if we have, everybody is available tomorrow. Let's have a session tomorrow as well. Otherwise, we'll connect on Monday.
Okay. So what are the remaining tasks? Flows and approval, right?
Yeah, flows
These
and
two are
approval
the-
process. Yeah, these are only two we have.
Okay.